Yo. Top of the morning to the gambling gang, man. Today is December the 6th, 2022. It's your boy Chris. This is the NBA Cashed It with, I'm sorry, not the NBA. This is the Cashed It with Chris NBA show uh, slash betting podcast, man. Be sure, like I always tell you guys, to check out the Basketball Forever Podcast Network. You guys give me a review over on Spotify and over on Apple Podcasts. So wherever you listen to your podcast at, all of episodes are available via podcast platforms on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday specifically. The Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday shows are all available on YouTube. So check me out over there. Coming off a 0-1 day, and I'm so glad I didn't go heavy volume yesterday. It was a really, really weird day. I took the Phoenix Suns last night plus the three, and they just didn't have it. You could see it from the beginning of the game. Dallas, they kind of own Phoenix, man. You can. I'm starting to believe that Dallas kind of owns Phoenix now. Even without Chris Paul, even with Chris Paul, the game was over in the first quarters. Dallas took an early lead in that one. Devin Booker came out missing. Shout out to DeAndre Ayton. He was 8 for 11 from the field, I think. But the rest of the guys just came out missing. Their offense was kind of dictated by their defense as well. They didn't play well defensively. Dallas ended up with 130 points. Uh, Phoenix trailed by 18 at the end of the first quarter, and they never could get back into that game. So, yeah, like I said, glad I went light, man. Appreciate you guys for being here in the YouTube comment section as well. Good morning, KC, Jose, Anthony. See you guys. Let's get back on the winning track today. I know it's a lot. It's a lot of variance in the NBA, man. Yesterday was a really weird day. We saw the Miami Heat lose to the shorthanded Memphis Grizzlies. We saw the Golden State Warriors lose to the extremely shorthanded, extremely at the extreme rest disadvantage version of the Indiana Pacers last night. So definitely some weird stuff. But we got a 3-game slate today. I want to talk about 2 of these games specifically. We'll jump into the last game later on this evening, but it'll be a shorter show today. But do me a favor, hit the like button for me if you guys are watching on YouTube. Even if you guys are watching late, it always helps. So thank you guys for that. I appreciate it. And let's get into it. So first game up, we have my Los Angeles Lakers traveling to Cleveland to take on the Cavaliers. Uh, Line in this one opened at 4 in favor of the Cavs. The total in this one opened at 224, and it's come up. It's ticked up just a tad bit already. It's up to 224 and a half. So important to note, I am a diehard Laker fan, as you guys already know. Most of the time, I don't bet on or against my team, but I do want to bring you guys the information so that you are more better informed bettors. Have not placed a bet in this one. We'll see how today kind of shakes out. And a big part of that, in all seriousness, is the status of Jared Allen. He has missed the last 5 games, but he is listed as questionable in this one. He was upgraded to questionable yesterday after their shoot around. I think they're expecting a return from him. So what do you have in this game? Lakers coming in hot. They beat the Wizards in DC on Sunday and the Bucks on Friday to start the Eastern Conference road trip. I think it's a 7-game road trip altogether. This team's hot right now, man. I know these are just the stats. It's not homer stuff. They're 8-2 against the spread their last 10, both straight up and against the spread. You get this Cavs team. They're coming in off the road loss against the Knicks on Sunday where they just couldn't make a shot. I had Donovan Mitchell over 26 and a half points in that one, only loss that we took on Sunday. This Cavs team, they're a much better home team where they're 10-1 straight up, 9-1-1 against the spread compared to their road record. On the road, they're just 5-8 straight up, 4-8-1. So against the spread, some of these teams just play extremely well based on the environment that they're in. Sometimes that environment is second night of back-to-back. Sometimes it's a road game. Sometimes it's home games. Sometimes it's first quarters. You really have to figure out and take deep dives to find that information to feel like you found where you want to kind of back a team. So Cavs, for them, it's at home. On the road, not as much. We saw the Dallas Mavericks struggle against we saw the Dallas Mavericks go into Madison Square Garden and obliterate the New York Knicks, and then we see the Cavs just go in there and not be able to score 100 points. So, just some variance there between their home and road splits. But now they're back home, like I said. Lakers 4-1 in their last 5 games. Only with only one loss coming on the buzzer beater by Nemard of the Pacers. Uh, that game winner that Halliburton threw him. I know you guys probably remember that one. Shout out to Nemard too. He played extremely well. Career night last night in Golden State. Shorthanded team. He was pretty much making every single play. If he wasn't shooting the ball and hitting the shots, he was the guy that was out there dishing the rock. Had a career high assists and career high in points last night. But getting back to this Laker team, they have rebounded after a strong. They've rebounded after that strong. Rebounded strong after that loss, and currently have the best offensive rating in the NBA at a 125.8. So they have looked well offensively. A large part of that is the Anthony Davis, and I'm gonna talk about him in a second. The defense is taking a step back for the Lakers, and the offense is picked up. Over the previous 5 games, the Lakers ranked 26th, or you could say the 5th worst ranked defense, and the number 4 overall in net rating, however, because of the strong play on the offensive end. You look at this Cleveland team, specifically at home over the previous 5 games, they have the 8th best offensive rating and the 1st best defensive rating during that time span. Even with missing Jared Allen for a few of those games, they also have the best net rating of a plus 21.7 over the last 5 games at home specifically. Like I said, Jared Allen is supposed to return in this one. I look at this game and I think about the matchup. So Patrick Beverley will most likely end up drawing Donovan Mitchell, and Anthony Davis will probably end up being guarded by Evan Mobley, who's a top tier defender in the paint specifically. You take him outside and put him on the perimeter, he can be barbecue. Excuse me, he can be barbecue chicken out there. But I think with those 2 things in mind, specifically Evan Mobley guarding AD, and AD has looked like this dude's been on a tear. To me, I think the matchup, uh, I think it bodes well for LeBron, right? I think Evan Mobley takes this matchup. He takes it seriously. He competes. I'm pretty sure JB Bickerstaff is challenging him to take on this matchup and say, "Look, I know you see what AD's doing. Let's not let him come in our house and do the same thing." And they really try to slow the Western Conference Player of the Week down. AD averaged 38, 13, and 3 blocks, 13 rebounds, 38 points last week. And he's coming off the 55-point game to the Wizards. In my opinion, the offense will need to continue to run through AD in this game to keep him engaged. But I'm looking at LeBron and his matchup. He'll probably end up drawing Isaac Okoro or Lamar Stevens, whoever they end up starting at the 3. And both of those guys are pretty good defenders. But looking at Bron, he's played pretty good ball as of late, and he seems to always play well when he goes back into his old stomping grounds playing in Cleveland. Pretty sure he probably has this one circled as he typically, does. Bron has scored at least 26 points in all of his games versus the Cleveland Cavaliers since he's joined the Lakers, and I think that's 4 or 5 games. In Cleveland specifically, though, he's had games with 38 points, 46 points, and 32 points. I look at taking LeBron. I think he has the better matchup tonight against Isaac Okoro. Also, especially if he can get his jumper going. He has been hitting his jump shot recently over the last couple games anyway. So you look at the Cavs. When it comes to a side, you look at the Cavs, they're 2-1 straight up. 1-1 against the spread this season when they're coming off an ATS loss, and they are at home in the following game. They're also, but the one thing that's also interesting, they're 5-0 straight up, 3-0-2, so they have no losses against the spread when they're 4-point favorites at home this season. So that's one thing to kind of take into consideration. To me, it feels like you have the best defensive team at home versus the best offensive team over the last 5 or so games, kind of going toe to toe. Also, it's also interesting to note that when the Cavs are 4-point favorites at home, those games have gone under 4 of the last 5 times, with the Cavs allowing just 98 points in those contests. So, like I talked about, Lakers best offensive rating over the last 5 games, and then you get the Cleveland Cavaliers the best defense. In that same time span, even without Jared Allen, he's supposed to return tonight. So, I know the entire world is probably looking to back the Cavs in this spot as a home favorite. But call me crazy. I think it, and you could say it's a homer pick. I think the Lakers could keep this one close or potentially win this game outright today. Tomorrow, the Lakers play in Toronto on the second night of a back-to-back. That'll also be a third game in 4 nights as well, with them playing Sunday against the Washington Wizards. So winning tonight, especially for LeBron being in his hometown, and the revenge factor since the Lakers did lose earlier this season versus Cleveland in the first a few weeks ago before they started to get things kind of turned around. It seems feasible to me, even with Jared Allen returning. But no play on the side for me at all. I lean towards the total kind of going over the 224.5. But I think that it's interesting to note that if Jared Allen does come back, you do have to probably look towards the under. We've talked about the trends with him being in versus being out. If Jared Allen doesn't play, I like the over. If Jared Allen does play, I like the under. So no real play on the total or the side for me. I think with Jared Allen being listed as questionable, he makes a tremendous impact, as I've talked about on the show plenty of times before. So that's what I got for you guys on that first one. Let me see what y'all say in the comment section before I keep it moving. NBA has been wild so far. A ton of variance. That's a fact. That is a fact, bro. It's crazy. Cavs no bet without Allen. I can see it. What up, LJ? No Jared Anthony. No Jared Allen, Anthony Davis dominates tonight. So I saw reports from the beat writer yesterday, from the Cleveland Cavaliers beat writer. I follow this team pretty closely because it's a team that I typically like to bet on, or I like to fade in certain spots. And he was upgraded. It was yesterday during the NBA, the Crispy Cap and NBA show. The reports did come out that Jared Allen was listed as questionable for this game. So he hasn't been rolled out yet. And I think that's important to note before you placing your bets too. Jason said Lakers 19-2-1 straight up in the second quarter. AD going for 40. Not gonna lie, LeBron tonight. I'm with you, Markel. I think I like LeBron. AD over 41.5 points, rebound, and assists. I could see it. I could definitely see AD kind of keeping it going. 41.5 is literally 25, 15, and 2 assists. So I could definitely see the 41.5. I like LeBron tonight, though. I like LeBron. Just go look at LeBron game logs versus this team specifically, this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And like I said, I think AD, especially with Jared Allen coming back and Evan Mobley, it leads more to me thinking LeBron James will score versus AD. And I know AD's been hot. I know he averaged 38 last week, all that good stuff. But I would, sometimes you got to know when to pivot. I'm not saying not to take AD because he's been a force. And he, could probably put Evan Mobley in the weight room today because he's a lot more stronger than Evan Mobley. But Evan Mobley knows how to use his size, and like I said, I'm pretty sure everybody in Cleveland knows what AD's been doing, and they have probably the better rim protectors in the NBA when you think about paint presence, especially if they get Jared Allen back tonight. So, just something you might be able to play live as well. I wouldn't play this game until we know the status of Jared Allen, though. But moving along, and I appreciate you guys for all the comments in the YouTube section as well, man. Hit the like button for me if you guys are watching over there. And the questions that you guys ask, the comments that you guys make, just kind of open my brain up to think about the games from different angles as well. So I always appreciate that as well. Wanted to make sure I shared that. Moving along in the second and last game, we'll talk about the Denver Nuggets and the Dallas Mavericks game a little later on the evening show. But looking at this Pistons and the Heat game, right? So this one opened I want to say it opened at 8.5. I'm pretty sure that's what it opened at. Let me just make sure. I know it's at 8.5 now, which is what you guys see here. So opened at 8.5. It hasn't really moved at all. The total has come down just a tad bit, depending on what book you're looking at. I see it opened at 222. It's down to 221 at some spots, 221.5 as well. So injury-wise, of course, Cade Cunningham is still out in this game. He's not supposed to make a return anytime soon. Isaiah Livers is also out for the Detroit Pistons. Miami will continue to be without Victor Oladipo and Omer Yurtseven. Jimmy Butler has not been listed as out in this one, but it wouldn't surprise me in this one. And this, I'm just thinking outside the box. It wouldn't surprise me in this one if Spo decided that he wanted to rest him. This is Jimmy Butler's only his third game returning. We know that he played Friday in Boston. They looked really, really good in that spot. And they won that game. Then last night, they played extremely terrible second half of basketball, and they lost that game in Memphis last night versus the shorthanded Memphis Grizzlies. So you get this Detroit team, they're coming in off the loss Sunday at home to the Memphis Grizzlies. That was a 10-point loss. They didn't cover that spread. This team is just 6-19 straight up on the season, and they're 2-11 on the road specifically. They have covered 6 of their last 10 games, with 3 of those being pushes and with 3 of those being losses, and one of those being a push in the last 10 games. Tonight, they get the Miami Heat. In Miami, on the second night of a back-to-back for the Miami Heat, they'll be traveling from Memphis. After coming up short, like I said, against the short-handed Memphis Grizzlies last night. For Detroit, this will be their first road game since having a 4-game homestand where they went 1-3 straight up. With that win coming against the Dallas Mavericks in overtime on December 1st. For Miami, this will be their first game returning home after a 4-game road trip where they went just 2-2. Excuse me. So Detroit, they've played Miami tough. I don't know if people have went back and looked at that and you take it into your handicap, but Detroit has played Miami tough recently. They have won only one of the last 4 games, but they've covered all 4 spreads throughout that time. The Pistons are also 4-0-1 against the spread in their last 5 games this season following an ATS loss. So they typically lose and then they come back out with something. And we see that all the time from these from these teams that don't cover spreads. We saw it last night with the Orlando Magic against the Milwaukee Bucks. Orlando goes to Toronto on Sunday. They get smacked. Well, Saturday they get smacked up by Toronto, lose that game by I think by 18 points, don't cover the spread, and then they come back home. They go down big yesterday against the Bucks, and they come back and they cover the spread last night. So a lot of times, these teams are a little just a tad bit better than we think they are, and they do have the ability to be able to cover spread. So the Pistons are one of those teams as well, man. Like I said, 4-0-1 ATS in their last 5 games following an ATS loss, and 4-0 ATS in their last 4 road games versus a team that has a 60% win percentage or better. And they're 4-0 straight up. I'm sorry, 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 games, road games overall as well, right? So whether they're playing up to competition or down to competition, well, you can't really go down to competition if you're the Pistons, but if it doesn't matter who they're playing. They've been playing really, really tough against these really, really tough Western Conference teams when they went on that road trip last week. So however, let's talk about this situation specifically. To me, this one kind of feels like a spot for Miami, especially after losing to the shorthanded Memphis Grizzlies last night. One could argue that having the rest disadvantage and Detroit playing so scrappy on the road in their recent performances, the Pistons could be able to cover this 8.5-point spread on the road tonight. And I think that that's true. I think that they absolutely could. Miami has not looked good as a favorite so far, especially when you start plugging in lines like you need them to cover by 5.5 or 4.5 or more. I look the opposite way though. I think I look the opposite way and say the Heat bounce back in a spot like this tonight in front of their home crowd, especially early is where I'm looking at in this one. Miami has they should have a bad taste in their mouth after losing that game to the Pistons in the fashions that they did yesterday against pretty much the Memphis Grizzlies B team. Another interesting thing to note is teams coming off at least a 3-game road trip before returning home. Most teams don't play well in that spot. Miami's one of those teams that actually does, right? So Miami, I talked about it, 4-game road trip. They're coming back home for one. And then on the opposite side, you get a unique environment with the Detroit Pistons because they play 4 straight home games and it'll be their first road game. But if you look at the Miami Heat playing off having a 3-game road trip or more, this team is 7-1 straight up, 6-2 against the spread, dating back to last season when they're in their first game home after having at least a 3-game road trip. So I'd look to back Miami early in this one to avoid the potential backdoor cover with this team wanting to get the bad taste out of their mouth early. I look for their defense to kind of ruffle the feathers of who can struggle to score, and specifically, without Cade Cunningham. I look for them to kind of dominate this one early. The Heat are only 6-8 against the spread after a previous ATS loss this season, but they have been injured to kind of start the season, and they are starting to get a tad bit healthier. We see some of the guys kind of coming back, and like I said, they're only going to be without Victor Oladipo and Omer Yurtseven in this one. They've covered. I talked about them being 6-8 after a previous ATS loss. This Miami Heat team has covered 4 of the last 5 after an ATS loss this season. In their most recent matchup. So they have been covering a lot more recently. Dating back to March 27th, one of the trends I looked at, dating back to March 27th of last season, team coming off a previous ATS loss with no rest that are home favorites in the next game, they're 17-2 straight up, 13-5-1 against the spread. But more importantly, because I'm talking about the first half, they're winning the first half by average margin of 7 points. And I think that trend speaks to teams wanting to get that bad taste out of their mouth. So if you think about a previous ATS loss, this team lost. They were 4 point favorites, lost the game by like 11 yesterday. And you have no rest. Typically, that's a bad thing. You want to be more rested. But you also have to think about it from the standpoint of, well, you get to bounce back and you get to get that bad taste out of your mouth, especially after a lackluster performance like yesterday. So read that trend one more time. Those teams coming off a previous ATS loss with no rest and their home favorites in the next game, they're 17-2 straight up, 13-5-1 against the spread. But like I said, more importantly, winning the first half by average of 7 points. That's where I look in this one. The first half spread will probably be along the lines of 3.5 to 4. That's what I kind of got for you guys on that one. Haven't really evaluated props at all, even though I told you guys I do think looking at LeBron is definitely worthy. I would be looking at LeBron props tonight. I couldn't talk anybody up. AD dude's been absolutely on a tear. Donovan Mitchell, like I said, will probably end up drawing Patrick Beverly. He'll do his best on him, but Donovan Mitchell shoots the ball extremely efficient at home. Specifically, Darius Garland also plays a lot better. I shared the splits on Sunday. He plays a lot better, so I couldn't talk anybody off his props as well. And like I said, the last game, the Denver Nuggets will host the Dallas Mavericks on the Mavericks' second night of a back-to-back. We'll break that one down a little bit later during the Crispy Cap and NBA show. So that's what I got for you guys today, man. I hope this information was helpful. Hit the like button for me if you guys can on the way out. Best of luck with all the action that you guys play today, man. Always end the show with this. None of this is financial consultation. This is theory, it's logic, it's eye test, it's SDQL queries. Bet with your head, not over it. Best of luck to you guys tonight. I am out.